What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down why NIO did trade the way it is and what I do expect to be happening over time. Now, I do apologize to you guys if it does sound like I'm talking either quietly or if it sounds like I'm screaming into the mic, because my original microphone is not working and I do have to speak using my computer's official mic, and that's an issue because it might not be the same quality. I do apologize. I will try to get this fixed going forward, but it may take a little time to do that. But until then, I'm not going to stop recording these videos. I need to just power through and use this format instead. But besides that, everything else will be the same. So looking at NIO, I'm going to talk about the overall market, what's going on, something that NIO did actually do, a very big business move that could help them, and also what's going on with NIO's share price, especially going into next week. Now, before I break anything down about it, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Plus, you'll also have free level 2 data and the chance to get $0 in commissions for trading. It's an unlimited time offer. The offer ends in just 4 days. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, NIO is down about 1.53% for the day. On the daily, we already had this MACD crossover and NIO has been on the downtrend. I didn't mention this in previous videos. I was actually bearish on NIO for quite a while, at least for the short term. But just so you guys remember, for the long term, I'm still very, very bullish. I do think NIO has lots of potential for the long term. Now, what happened to NIO's share price? I mentioned to you guys that we would likely get a gap fill, this gap fill right over here, all the way to the left. This is actually created a while back. Hold on, let me look at the hourly chart just to show it to you. Basically, the low 10s were likely going to come for NIO, and I was anticipating that we'd fill this gap right here where my cursor is. Hopefully, it's a little easier to see it this way. And that is what ended up happening, and NIO did end up coming down. Now, the market did end up also coming down, and that did drag NIO down to some degree. If you look at the S&P 500 or SPY, we basically had a sideways day bouncing between 405 and 408, and we finally tried to get a breakout, but we actually just barely closed above 408. Once again, not really confirming it just yet, and I do expect there to be lots of chop until we get to CPI. For the QQQ, it's a very similar trend. You guys can see right over here, the QQQ, it actually filled its gap that's on the left side, breaking below 300. And we are still chopping back and forth, closing kind of red. And this is one of the first times in a while we actually saw the QQQ closing differently from SPY. At least QQQ is red, SPY is green. But now I want to transition to NIO. What's happening right now? The market is starting to downtrend, and this is likely going to play a role in dragging NIO down. The QQQ is near a very bearish crossover on the MACD, which is showing signs of weakening momentum for the bulls. The S&P 500 and the SPY, they already got this crossover. We actually got the crossover already, and I just want to note that this is actually affecting how the whole market ends up moving. We have it on the SPX, same thing. We're likely going to see a continuation for more bearish momentum, but it's going to depend on CPI from this point. So now let's talk about NIO. NIO has reduced its prices. Once again, very, very interesting stuff. I will make another in-depth video about this using a real case study to help you understand why I think this is actually a good move. We're also seeing many analysts and investors that believe that we shouldn't just focus on the short term, but also the long term. Right over here, we're seeing Citi analyst Jeff Chung wrote, "The street should not read too much into the poor January sales at the current stage." And I tend to agree with this. He mentioned the fact that the low January numbers are just a setup for relative improvement in the coming months. So he's still very bullish on NIO. He believes the price reduction strategy is going to help them big time. It's going to make them a lot more fierce, especially because they have some very beautiful models. You can see the EC7 right over here. Looks very elegant. I love the design right here with the handles that could come in and out. The interior is quite nice. It has a duckbill like style, I think, from like this end. And on top of that, I think the rims and everything look very clean. It's a very sick looking car. And I really love what they're doing with their products, their strong customer service, and also the power swapping stations, the energy storage technology, which I think is going to be big for NIO too. Now, even though NIO has strong fundamentals, fundamentals are not driving the market. I want to note that NIO's max pin was 11. We closed below it at about 10.3, not super far. But one thing that's a little bit, I wouldn't use the word concerning, but not the best of things is the the puts to call ratio. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. The puts to call ratio. NIO's put to call ratio is very low compared to many of the other uh, stocks out there. And I'm saying this because most people are actually loading into calls for NIO on a weekly basis. And when you do this, you're incentivizing the market makers to drag her down. And when that happens, the market makers don't want to pay out those premiums. So they end up dragging stocks down like NIO. When you look at NIO, I just want to note something else that's important. The price pairs ratio is actually continuing to come down. And I think that's very important because as it continues to come down, this is just a very, very big reflection of what was actually going on during previous trends. So, what else is very important to note is as it continues to come down, we are going to see more relative weakness. But if NIO does get a bounce above 10, that could actually help it a little bit. But besides that, I do expect it to chop around. So, I'm expecting NIO to chomp around back and forth, maybe not do too much. It could try to fill this gap, but I just don't really see a whole lot. Going into the later, weeks slash later days, later trading days, I do expect NIO to actually make a very big move depending on CPI. If CPI ends up lower than expected and the market gets a nice rally, NIO could get a nice bounce to fill this gap, break 10.8 into the 11s and beyond. If CPI is too high and the market does not like what it's seeing, NIO is likely going to retest 10 and could even break below. How low will NIO go? I don't know. That's something that's very dependent on many factors. But if it breaks below $10, okay, if that hypothetically happens, you have to watch 9.7, 9.5, followed by 9 flat. So watch those three areas. Not saying it has to happen, but we have seen NIO bounce off 9.5. So just be prepared for that. I just wanted to make that very clear. And I want you to be prepared for anything. All right? So I expect lots of sideways action until CPI comes out. Once CPI comes out, that could actually help us pick a direction. That's what I have for this video. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still very bright. And peace out.